And God looked upon the earth, and behold, it was corrupt, for all flesh had corrupted his way upon the earth. The sons of men in those days took from the cattle of the earth, the beasts of the field, and the fowls of the air, and taught the mixture of animals of one species with the other, in order therewith to provoke the Lord. And God saw the whole earth, and it was corrupt, for all flesh had corrupted its ways upon the earth, all men and all animals. 200 donkeys, 200 asses, 200 rams of the flock, 200 goats, 200 beasts of the field, from every animal, from every bird, for miscegenation. We have all seen fossils of dinosaurs. Modern science teaches that these creatures that are found were part of evolution, and that they no longer exist because they evolved. Well, we know that evolution is a deception, and is easily proven to be an error. However, what are the fossils and creatures that are found that are claimed to be part of this evolution? The answer is simple. It is a clever way to hide what was going on in the days of Noah. If we ponder and think to ourselves, why are these creatures not around today? The answer is simple. God wiped them out because they were corrupt flesh of mixed species one with another. We see these creatures mentioned throughout the Bible, and the orders were always the same: total eradication. How clever of modern science to use these creatures as a way to prove that evolution explains these species' supposed transitions, when in fact, when we look at a lot of these fossils and creatures that are found, we see some interesting features. Most of these mixed species seem to only have one goal: to kill, eat, and destroy. Most of these creatures that are found are very terrifying looking, and I can only imagine what it would be like to see one of these things living. This also fits the narrative given to us in Genesis that violence had consumed the world. Just imagine these creatures roaming around, killing, eating, and destroying everything in their paths. High atop the Andes Mountains, the Rockies of South America, there is an arid region in Peru that is both unusual and unnatural. Seen from the air, this region can easily be mistaken for an abandoned airport. Someone had carefully cleared and carved a series of laser straight lines that span many kilometers. Most of these lines are just wide enough to be called a path. Other areas form huge rectangles and trapezoids, hundreds of meters in width and length. Indeed, it looks as if the area was made to accommodate a fleet of DC-747s, but these runways are thousands of years old. Because the land is at a high altitude and gets little rain, scientists have often wondered how anyone could maintain a sustainable living in this harsh environment, let alone perform the work required to create these amazing structures. This is just one of the many mysteries to be found in the region. On neighboring mountain tops, the intact remains of walls and buildings can be seen. This architecture is all made from massive stones, some weighing as much as a locomotive, each meticulously carved and transported to the high peaks from a quarry some 5 miles away. The precision of each stone's final finish is so exact that there was no need for mortar or cement. These stones are joined so tightly that not even a pin can be inserted between them. When the Spanish came to Peru and discovered this construction, they asked the native people if they had made these huge monuments. But the natives of Peru had only legends of the ancients that came and went, long before they established their villages. Their identity is still a mystery, but no longer a mystery to those that understand what is very clear in Genesis 6. In this area, rain is infrequent. In the mid-1960s, it rained a lot. The dry washes quickly filled to capacity, and the normally calm rivers were scoured by the torrential flood. In a small town near the Nazca lines, the narrow Ica River was eroded away along the banks, revealing several hundred carved stones that had been buried in the subterranean chambers. As the water receded, the carved stones were left on the Ica's riverbanks. As the locals began to collect these stones, a particular image of fish caught the eye of Dr. Javier Cabrera, the town's physician. Dr. Cabrera recognized the outlined image as that of an extinct species of fish. His curiosity piqued. He sought more of these stones. Gradually, the villagers knew that he was interested in these strange objects, so they gave him what is now his collection, something Carrera calls his library of stone enigmas. The stones came in all sizes. There are small ones that can easily fit in the palm of your hand, and there are rocks as large as a dog. All of the stones have images that have been carved with continuous lines etched into the rock surface. The etching reveals a lighter color than the original dark varnish of age, yet the etched groves also bear traces of this varnish, indicating that the carving was done in very ancient times. One could easily attribute these stones to any pre-Columbian civilization, were it not for the uncanny and unmistakable pictures of dinosaurs, humans flying on pterodactyls, and vivid scenes of what appears to be human heart transplants and continental world maps. Sofia Melowitska is a geomorphologist who was commissioned to investigate the rocks, summarize their content, and comment on their authenticity. After studying the collection of the Ica Stones, Dr. Melowitska said that she was in a state of intellectual shock. The art that surrounds the entire rock face shows evidence of an advanced civilization that knew about surgery, the history of man's past, but how? Melowitska is one of the scientists now trying to direct the attention of professional research towards this mystery, but her battle is a tough one. Unlike clay figurines that have organic material, like straw, in their composition, there are no organic materials in plain old rock that will tell anything of its age. Traditional radiocarbon dating techniques rely upon organic material that was once alive to determine age. The surface of these rocks, however, has a varnish. It is the result of bacteria and minute organisms which have adhered to the surface. A good black varnish, or patina, will take thousands of years to discolor and coat each stone. Etching these rocks would have removed the existing varnish, revealing the bare rocks. Since these rocks have developed additional varnish in the grooves, it seems likely that these were hand-carved in very ancient times. It's very clear in the depictions of these stones that we see very violent imagery. We also see certain individuals riding these dinosaurs, which could possibly be giants, using these creatures to kill and destroy others, including killing and eating of other men. It is of my personal opinion that I firmly believe these stones are very strong depictions of what was going on in the days of Noah. The fallen angels that were around during the days of Noah that were creating these disgusting beasts by mixing one species with another and teaching mankind to do the same. I view this as no different than the Roman gladiators and the blood sport that went on. I view these depictions in the Ica Stones as the same type of blood sport. We can clearly see in some of these stones that some of these creatures make no sense, and it's very clear that they are genetic hybrid creatures, especially this one. Also, in other stones, we see what looks like DNA. We also see depictions of serpents. In almost all these different stones, we find serpents laced throughout, also showing what seems to be the worshipping of the stars or fallen angels, which are depicted as stars. And to top it all off, we also see another abominable act, and that is the very act of homosexuality, which is also depicted on the Ica stones. It is very clear what we see recorded on these stones, and they are very sinful acts. And these are all addressed issues in the scripture. These creatures and these acts were all abominations, and explains why they were wiped out during the flood. Mainstream science will simply and absolutely not touch these topics or subjects. They merely try to write these off as either fakes, hoaxes, or frauds, and try to do their best to cover up the real history behind these archaeological finds. Because these types of finds prove evolution is a farce, and it also proves the timeline of the scriptures, that dinosaurs were around at the same time of men, and this was what was going on in the days of Noah. And as Jesus forewarned, that these types of activities would be going on again in the end times. We are already seeing the emergence of the hybrid technology, the blending of species one with another going on before our very eyes, just as Jesus forewarned. In addition to the Ica stones, it appears that artists living in the ancient civilization in what we now call Mexico found yet another way of leaving a long-lasting record of their story. They made clay figurines, thousands of them. After World War II, an amateur archaeologist, Mr. Julsrud, uncovered clay figurines along a trench at the base of Bull Mountain in his native Mexico. After talking to local farmers, Julsrud learned that the figurines like these were frequently being uncovered when farmers dug ditches and trenches in the area. They usually turned up in groups of between 20 to 40 pieces and were usually found in a particular piece of land at the base of the mountain. Julsrud began excavating the area and eventually had a collection of over 30,000 figurines. The figurines, all made of a particular type of clay found in the area, appear to show artworks of two distinct cultures and time periods. One type with human figures with large eyes and lips, which depict a style of art known to be linked to a culture that lived in the area thousands of years before Columbus. The other figures are thought to be much older. These figures show animals that were never thought to have been indigenous to the area, like camels, elephants, and horses. They also include exact replications of dinosaurs believed to have been extinct. Thus, we have a mystery left from antiquity in the soils of Mexico and Peru. These ancient artworks appear to be telling us that humans not only were here at the time of the dinosaurs, but they hunted them and may have been hunted by them. They also knew of other animals from other parts of the world that they should not have known about. And, like the Ica stones, the clay figures show detailed images of Stegosaurus, Tyrannosaurus rex, and pterodactyls, both alone and in various interactions with human figures. In 1954, Julsrud actually convinced a team of archaeologists to visit the site where the clay figurines were found. They made some excavations and uncovered a collection of new figurines, appeared excited by their find, and stated that they thought the work was authentic, but 3 weeks after they had returned to the university, the report concluded that they could not be real because of the impossible representations of both humans and extinct dinosaurs living together. Thus, the existence of the Julsrud figurines were disregarded by the established scientific community because they did not fit the mold for approved human history. God created everything in the beginning perfectly. All the animals were created the way God intended them to be. When the fallen angels began mixing one species with another, the problem that comes from blending these different species, just as science is doing today, if one of these creatures is able to breed with another species or human being, this is where we start seeing a major problem, because this is when the barrier has been essentially broken, and now it is like an infectious virus able to spread its corrupted DNA and genetics into other creatures and other species. What you're about to see are some disturbing images. These are depictions of some of the behavior and activities that was going on in the days of Noah. There is a reason why there are strict warnings in the scriptures, such as this. These are some of the other carvings that were found in this collection, and what we see here is what appears to be human beings having intercourse with beasts, and it's very obvious that these are hybrid creatures that are being depicted in these images. We can have a better understanding now of these hybrid creatures and these chimeras. We can also get an understanding of what is mentioned in the scripture considering the lion-like men of Moab, how these corrupted genetics that were going on back in the days of Noah were essentially making bastards, these horrible monsters, these corrupt beings. This is one of the reasons why God destroyed everything in the flood. Just imagine a world of these bizarre, strange, disgusting beings that were full of hatred and violence. And I can almost assume that these creatures hated man and probably killed and ate man, drank blood, and all these other things that we are told throughout ancient history and a lot of the mythological stories. Some of these creatures, like this one here, it's pretty clear what we're seeing here. It looks like what we would call a gray next to a dinosaur. Could be his pet. We have another image here that we saw earlier, this one here, of what appears to be some kind of an entity hugging a dinosaur, almost again like a pet. We also see images like this one, where it looks like this is a other strange looking creature having some type of intercourse with one of these dinosaurs. We see this same type of activity depicted in ancient Egypt, as we see in this picture here, showing the serpent with an erect phallus. We also see it in the Aborigine cave paintings, which is clearly a lizard-like creature about to have intercourse with what looks like a gazelle or a deer of some kind. We also have this being shown in other cave paintings. This creature here is clearly a hybrid creature. It is not a human being. This was the reality of the Genesis 6 serpent seed. This was the corruption of DNA and genetics of God's original creation to pollute what God had created. This angered God. This was also being done to corrupt man, animal, everything, to try to prevent the prophecy of the coming of Jesus Christ. This is why the Bible is very clear that the angels that committed these awful acts and taught men these sinful sciences were bound in chains in darkness. And this is why when Jesus died on the cross, he descended into the bowels of the earth and declared his victory to these fallen angels. I know there are many false teachers out there teaching the incorrect serpent seed doctrine that had occurred in the Garden of Eden, which is completely unbiblical. There is absolutely zero biblical evidence for this, unless you start going to corrupted texts such as the Targums and other unbiblical texts. We need to focus on what we have the evidence for, such as what I have been showing you in this video. There is a reason why a lot of people don't like to address this issue or look into it or research it, because it is very disturbing. It is something that most churches conveniently like to sweep under the rug and ignore. But the fact is history does not lie. These artifacts do not lie. These activities were going on in the days of Noah and also after that. And there's another reason why the world ignores this and lumps it under the title of evolution, and that one species changed into another, and that's why these creatures are no longer here. That is another grand lie that is fed to the masses. The truth is, they do these things in order to hide the fact that they're doing it again, as we see with the pig-human hybrid that they have created. And there's others that have been going on in Japan with mixing human genetics with rabbit genetics, and they're all doing this under the guise of, this will help people. We can do new vaccines and make cures for cancer or whichever disease they want to attach a tag to. The truth is, there is nothing good that will come of this other than stirring up God's wrath. These creatures were wiped out for a reason before, and they will be wiped out again. It is very important to watch what the scientific community is up to and pay attention to what they're busy working on these projects. These creatures that are being created in these labs are modern day Nephilim. These creatures are evil, and they can be nothing but evil because a human spirit does not inhabit them. Whatever spirit inhabits these creatures when they're created in a lab can only be 100% demonic. If hybrid creatures or hybrid humanoids were allowed out into the general populace and were having intercourse with other normal human beings, as I stated before, it would be like the spreading of a virus. It would not take very long before these corrupted genetics to spread like a wildfire. We can already see this agenda coming to fruition through the gender identities that we see going on, and the vast number of strange and bizarre sexual identities that people are taking. I believe in New York there is over 40 different types of gender identities. This is all building blocks and stepping stones towards the reconditioning of society to allow hybrid creatures to be allowed in society and to be accepted. We are even seeing a reversal of brainwashing going on, especially on YouTube, of documentaries being produced saying that dinosaurs are a hoax and that there were no such thing as dinosaurs. These people that do these type of videos are 100% shills, denying facts, denying history. This is a reversal of brainwashing on the other extreme side of the scale. It is all being done to cover up what is being done right now in labs all over the world. I would just like to end this video on this note. We see a lot of propaganda being pushed out about mystical creatures, especially in movies like Fantastic Beasts, the Harry Potter series, and many more. These movies are being done to have sympathy or a curiosity about creatures that do not exist in nature and are not supposed to exist in nature. These are done to condition society into accepting what is to come, because the Bible is very clear in its warnings, especially the warning that Jesus himself gave as we read in Matthew 24:21. For then shall be great tribulation, such as was not since the beginning of the world to this time, no, nor ever shall be. This is a very important key scripture here. What this is telling us is that the times that will be coming will be worse of that than the days of Noah. We will be seeing the exact same things and worse coming to fruition through science and technology, transhumanism, these genetic alteration programs that they have like CRISPR. We will be witnessing some incredible and evil things to come in our future. And it is up to us to keep a watchful eye on what is going on in the scientific community and to pay close attention to the prophecies that we have in our scripture. I hope you all enjoyed this video. God bless and have a wonderful week.